Following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities Network. Hello, and welcome to the Healthcare Facilities Network. I am Peter Martin, president of Gosselin Martin Associates. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. And I am happy to introduce my guest, John Babin. John is the Director of Facilities Management for Ochsner Health Bayou Region down in Louisiana. John was kind enough, we do a monthly summary that we send out with shows that are on the Healthcare Facilities Network. It's kind of a review of the month. And one of the requests I made, put a little bit of a paragraph, and I asked people if you are from a community-based hospital, from a critical access hospital, if you have, if you work in one of those hospitals, to please reach out to me because I want to make sure that on this network, we're covering the full range. There are about 6,129 hospitals in the United States of America. We talk to people who are some of the bigger hospitals, but there's, I think I looked this morning, John, I think they said there's 1,381 critical access hospitals in America. So, we want to make sure that we are capturing the experiences of everybody who works in healthcare, because it's a pretty dynamic field. John was kind enough to reach out to me. I actually spoke with John last year, right on our survey that we did for 2022 Healthcare Facilities Management. So John was kind enough to reach out. We scheduled this. So John, thank you. I appreciate that.
Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. John, tell us, so you are Director of FM for the Bayou Region. What encompasses the Bayou Region? What is your scope of responsibility and accountability?
So there are currently 3 hospitals in the Bayou Region. Of course, we are part of a larger health system, Ochsner Health, with many hospitals and clinics as well. But in the Bayou Region itself, we have 3 hospitals, and St. Anne, which is where I originated at, is our critical access hospital.
Okay. So you've been with Ochsner for about 20 years now, John? Is that accurate?
Well, I've been at St. Anne here for 20 plus years, and Ochsner took over operation at St. Anne in 2006.
Okay.
So, Ochsner Health since 2006. Prior to that, we were a community-based hospital supported by a parish millage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that where, by the way, John, where is St. Anne?
St. Anne is in Raceland, Louisiana. And we are approximately 60 miles southwest of New Orleans. Sorry.
Okay, so 60 miles southwest of New Orleans.
Yes.
How close to the Gulf are you?
About 60 miles one way, probably a little bit less the other way.
Okay. So 60 miles southwest. How was, and I know it was a while ago now, but how was it, the transition from St. Anne's into a larger system?
Well, I guess for the employees, in a sense, it was somewhat of a culture shock, because we were, of course, like family, a small community, and very much a culture of togetherness and familiarity. So being a part of a large system, in a sense, was a culture shock, and there was a little fear at first from the employees as to how it would affect our relationships, and not only amongst ourselves, but as also with the community. And just about in every aspect, it's been a positive, extremely positive in a financial aspect, because our budgets, specifically in the non patient related stuff, was really limited. So clinical side really received most of the funding prior to Ochsner, and our capital budget was sometimes the allocation was confiscated by the clinical side. So it was a challenge, but it actually made us really good mechanics, because we had to rely on ingenuity in a lot of sense, and sometimes we had some really good band-aids.
I love that phrase, confiscated by the clinical side. It's funny because like that when you use words, different images come into your mind, and kind of confiscated. I don't see them sitting around that conference table with you guys and just, well, you don't need a PM on your boiler, or you don't need that. Let us take that.
Right.
So actually, though, for folks who aren't who don't know how critical access hospitals are designated, it's a CMS designation, excuse me. As I said, as of April 2023, there's 1,361 critical access hospitals in the United States out of 6,129 total. To be a critical access hospital, you need to have the following designations: 25 or fewer acute care beds, 25 or fewer acute care inpatient beds, be located more than 35 miles from another hospital. They do say that exceptions may apply. Maintain an annual average length of stay of 96 hours or less for acute care patients, and provide 24/7 emergency care services. John, are you guys more than 35 miles from another hospital?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
There's another hospital in a neighboring city, Homa, and there is one that was wiped out by Ida, which is closer to coast here in Lafourche Parish, where St. Anne is.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's some in the area, but I guess strategically to the Gulf, and I think that was the main reason why we were able to get the critical access designation, is because of the access from the Gulf of Mexico with the oil industry, which we rely heavily upon in our communities.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So your hospital would be a go-to for the folks working the Gulf if in situations?
It all depends, but we don't have that level of critical care here that would facilitate someone that would be in that degree of a critical need care. But we do get some patients still here at times. But I think mainly in the event that there's a storm in the Gulf nearby, we would be probably because of not only access, but because of we actually on a levee system where there's a bayou that passes nearby right in front of our hospital. At one time it was a tributary of the Mississippi River. So our land is built up here. And so the hospital is above sea level. Yeah. And the other hospitals are not. So I think that may have been part of the reason why we were able to get the critical access designation.
How far above sea level are you?
11.
11. Wow. So it's you visualize your geography down there, below sea level, above sea level. It's such an interesting area. So how far away from the hospital is that tributary, that bayou? How far away is that?
Right in front of, and actually the highway passes in front of the hospital campus, and right on the other side of that highway is actually what is called Bayou Lafourche, which at one time was a tributary of the Mississippi. And so it's supplies a freshwater source throughout 3 parishes here: so Lafourche, Terrebonne, and I believe Assumption Parish. And so there's water. The bayou is dammed off at the Mississippi, but there's pumping stations there that can keep it flowing. So we have a adequate supply of fresh water.
So what are that's really interesting. What are obviously there's the big challenge during hurricanes to have a bayou, but what are some of the challenges of having a bayou located so close to your hospital?
Actually, it's not a challenge for us. It's actually a benefit. We have at the bayou right here on the levee next to adjacent to the highway and the hospital. There's a device that the fire department will use to connect to a freshwater source in the event that there's a need, a big fire in the area. They can hook up and actually suck water out of the bayou into their trucks. So it does provide some benefit.
Relative to the population around your hospital or in the area, how many people are located in the area? How many residents?
In the nearby area, it's probably around between 20 and 30,000 people in this area, because the highway that ran through Raceland, of course, you see this in small cities as well. The main highway, which was Highway 90, which travels from New Orleans out west towards Lafayette. And at one time, it really highly traveled through Raceland. Well, there was a bypass, and so a lot of the industrial traffic was bypassed around Raceland. So that community sort of died out. And so we see a surge in population closer to the hospital, and actually further south here in Matthews, Lockport area. And Hurricane Ida has caused a lot of people to move, in a sense, forced to move from the south in the areas that are closer to the Gulf because of the tidal surge. So we're seeing a really surge in population in our area, because we are above sea level here, and there's a lot of area here, here near the hospital that is above sea level, and that's due to the bacteria from the Mississippi River.
Okay. So are there locations in your vicinity that are more than 11 feet above sea level?
There is within about 17 miles from here. The city of Thibodeau is pretty high. I'm not sure what the elevation is, but it's somewhat higher than here.
Is 11 considered high above for down in your region? I'd imagine it's pretty
absolutely
good. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, I think it is. We've never seen flooding here. I guess if we did have a catastrophe along the Mississippi River where the levee would fail, then potentially we could have some issues. But all in all, to my knowledge and my parents' knowledge, and as on a historical record, there's never been a tidal surge that's encompassed this area particularly.
Yep. So in 2020, Ida was 2021, correct? Yeah. Hurricane Ida. Yes. So what was that? What were the impacts for you down with Ida?
Well, we were actually ground zero. The Ida hurricane came over us here, and two of the hospitals in our Bayou region were impacted dramatically. We had some not catastrophic failure, but we did have some roofing that was compromised. We lost the roof on the penthouse. A portion of that ruptured the roof in surgery OR area, so we did take on a lot of water in there, and we lost a HEPA fan on the 4th floor that fell down and busted the roof in labor and delivery.
Oh.
We were scrambling to try to contain the water and in the midst of the storm, but we typically, when a hurricane is nearby or threatening nearby, we like to go on generator power prior to losing power, just to avoid any spikes or surges or multiple failures. That way we get on generator. We like to get on generator just prior to that, and so we have some stability in power. And we were on generator for 300 hours.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So when the eye passed overhead, was it still a clear eye by the time it got to you, or it started to be a little bit? It was.
Yes,
still.
I actually got on the golf cart and kind of did a round over the campus and around our clinics here, and did take some video footage. And we did have some more damage after the storm, after the eye passed. So yeah, it's really strange and kind of surreal when you go through this unbelievable weather event, and then all of a sudden you get an ray of sunshine and this Gulf breeze blowing, and you go outside and think, man, thank God it's over, and then too shortly after, and yeah, it's crazy.
That's, the word you use, surreal. I was going to say that to you. It must be surreal. It's one of those, so you go through all that nasty, heavy weather, you get to the eye and you kind of know you're going to get slapped again on the back end. So imagine you're kind of, I want to stay in it, but let's just get it over with. And because I know it's going to come through and hit us again.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
And sometimes the back part is worse.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it wasn't as bad. I don't think so anyway. We did sustain some other damage, once the eye passed, but the main part of the damage was at the beginning.
And so you're on generator power for 300 hours, you said. Yeah. What was how long did it take you guys to get back up and back up?
Well, we shut down the hospital had to shut down. So we moved our patients to the hospital in the system that wasn't damaged. Mm-hmm. So some of the staffing and a few patients that we had remaining at the hospital were transferred to our sister hospital. We did have FEMA and come out in the front and set up a makeshift hospital, and so they were able to triage some patients in the area. The hospital that's further down to the Gulf, they had a catastrophic failure. They lost everything. Wow. So their entire roof blew off at the very beginning of the storm. So they were in a bad situation, and they still haven't rebuilt. They somewhat in the process of rebuilding another facility, but right now there's kind of like a freestanding ER and that's a clinic service. So they still out of business.
Gosh, 2 years, just about 2 years later. That was around this, wasn't it the fall of 21?
Yes, actually it was August of 29th.
August 20th. Yes. You don't forget those things.
I have this massive magnolia leaf that blew in my office, and my office is on the ground floor here outside the building in a metal building. And so we had debris and various leaves and limbs everywhere. So I picked up one of these leaves and I wrote the date on it. I wrote the date, which is 8/29/21, and I have it posted on my wall right here as a stark reminder of this event. But it definitely was a unnerving event. I mean, it was I think a lot of the guys here, hope that we never have to do that again.
Yeah,
it's really scary, and we were wide open for about a week.
Really
lost potable water as well, and we had to bring tanks in, and we had a security guard here who was a member of the local fire department, and our fire department here is a volunteer department, but they really on top of the game, and so really gung-ho. And shortly after the storm, we lost water, and so he's on the radio and talking to the fire department here, and we were trying to come up with an idea of what to do to get our of course we lost chillers because our cooling tower didn't have any water supply. So in talking to him, he said, "Man, you need water?" He said, "We can get a fire truck out here and pump water in your tower." He said, "Is that all it's going to take to get the air conditioner back on?" I said, "For a little while, it's not a problem." He gets on the radio and calls the fire department. So we had a chain of fire trucks come out and fill up our tower so we can keep our chiller going until we can get a pump and get tanks, water tanks here. So it was an event that brought everyone together, and it just, it's unprecedented for us, and hopefully it never happens again. But we definitely a learning experience.
And did the fire did the water last until you were able to get back up and online?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Peter Martin. If you or your organization is interested in advertising or partnering with the Healthcare Facilities Network, including sponsoring content, then please email me using the barcode in the lower right of your screen. From the trades level to the vice president level, from planning, design, construction, project management, compliance, safety, and security, the Healthcare Facilities Network reaches FM people where FM people. I wanted to ask you, John, one of the things working in a critical access hospital, smaller community-based hospitals, is there a different vibe that you that you have in those type of hospitals? Is a different environment, different vibe, different feel than at other larger acute care hospitals?
I don't think so. I think that the original staff that was here prior to Ochsner taking over, in a sense, there is some, because we know, we have, memories of how it was before.
Yeah.
Became part of a big system, and then we shortly before that, becoming part of the Ochsner system, we became a critical access hospital. And so, I mean, just the camaraderie and the family type atmosphere here, I guess that's about the only difference that really sets us apart from the other two hospitals, which are much larger. And one of the hospitals in our system is a state-owned facility that we have an agreement to operate that hospital. And the other one is a similar arrangement as in our neighboring parish, St. Mary Parish. They are supported by a millage as well. So, yeah, Ochsner has been really good to South Louisiana and our community hospitals, and has drastically improved the service to our community and healthcare.
How, from a square footage perspective, John, how big is St. Anne's?
St. Anne is just under 110,000 square feet.
Okay. And are you at the 25 bed
Yes.
designation?
We have 35 beds because we have 10 in BHU, 3 in ICU, and the rest in med surg and labor and delivery.
So you're also the director over 2 other hospitals in that region.
Well, right now 2, because prior to Ida, I was at the other hospital in Houma, which is called Chabert Medical Center.
Yep.
And St. Anne. And
Okay.
then when the hurricane came, my supervisor elected to stay there and directed me to stay here. And because we both had such significant damage, it stayed that way for pretty much until very recently, where they let me have the other hospital as well. So sort of connected, but not directly responsible for the 3, but directly responsible for 2 now.
Okay. So is there, what do you enjoy working critical access hospital? What are some of are there any differences working in a critical access hospital? Different benefits, different challenges? What is the difference?
I really don't think there's a whole lot of difference. The responsibilities are basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of course, the size of the facility and the demands on the workforce are different. Certainly with the amount of foot traffic and amount of patients that we take care of. So other than that, I don't see a whole lot of difference. Because again, on the financial side, because we're part of a larger health system, we have a significant capital infrastructure and system in place, and we get our fair share. So yeah, I don't see a whole lot of difference in that regard.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the funding part of it relative to your capital. Right. It sounds like you're in a relatively, I mean, for these days, in a relatively good space.
Yes.
When it comes to funding and available capital, and able to keep up. Yeah.
Well, going from almost none to having some is a big improvement. So that's been a really big benefit to us, and allowed us to upgrade a lot of our major equipment: chillers, boilers, air handlers. At St. Anne in particular, we had our switch gear was in horrible condition, and a lot of our electrical components were makeshift and moved away from the motor control panel, and had multiple disconnects at various motors, no VFDs in the building whatsoever. So since that time, we've been able to upgrade most of the major equipment here at St. Anne, and make some improvements, and we're endeavoring to get to some energy efficiency as well, which at one time that wasn't even a part of the equation. So I mean, it's been a really big benefit to us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds like it's been quite the change for you. Do you have, relative to finding employees, keeping employees, did you keep most of your facility? Have you kept most of your facility employees through the years? Do you have challenges, or attracting to rural areas? Like, what's the workforce availability like?
Absolutely. That is not only here, I guess in a sense in healthcare in general.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been a challenge, and I believe that was part of our previous conversations regarding staffing. And we see an aging population amongst our guys here. I've had recently had a guy who retired with 28 years, another guy elected to leave with 27 years. So replacing those people are really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Hiring young people seems to be the challenge. We've posted several positions, openings, and the people that are actually seeking jobs in healthcare are older guys, maybe guys who are already established in their finances, and just looking for something to hold them over till they get to the retirement age, which is not a bad thing. But when it comes to succession, that's difficult, especially in the way we feel in healthcare. It's you can come in with a set of skills that, maybe you can do plumbing, and you can do some electrical, and you can do some refrigeration work, but actually coming in and learning how to operate with those skills in a healthcare environment is always a challenge. And in my opinion, I think 2 years of minimum, as far as the time to get someone ready to actually be acclimated to the building and the environment and being able to operate independently. And one thing that separates us here at St. Anne as a critical access hospital is the staffing here are not 24/7. So we do call, we have a man on call to have coverage. And so we have one guy on the weekend, works the weekend,
Okay.
and maintains a 40-hour shift. So he has to take a day off the week prior to the payroll pay period, and a day off the week after. So that presents some challenges as well, trying to maintain adequate staffing at the time. So with all that being said, when a guy's here by himself, he needs to be familiar with, pretty much a little bit of everything that's in the hospital, in the facility, and on campus, because he's the only guy everybody's calling on, if something goes wrong. Of course, we provide backup. My phone is on 24/7, 365, and if there's a need, I'm here. But to get someone in that position to be ready to respond to that call is difficult, and it takes time. So I recently hired a young guy. He's in his early 30s, and he has some experience, not hospital experience. And so we're bringing him up right now, and he does do some work independently, but we also bringing him along when there's something that we feel he needs to know, and in a time when he may be by himself. So we trying to actually mentor him while he's here actually being productive.
Yeah.
Which is a benefit.
You had mentioned that you feel it takes like 2 years for them to get acclimated, and that's part of the reason that it takes that 2 years is, just because you're on there alone.
Right. Yeah. And it's not only knowing what to do, but where to go when someone calls, hey, this tall is acting up, and then he needs to know where to go and find that area, or it may be a breaker that's stripped. Well, which panel? How do I find where the panel's at?
Yeah.
Accessing the blueprints and accessing those things that that's stuff that needs to be learned with boots on the ground, and it just takes time.
Yeah, it does.
And you don't find those people on the streets.
No. Well, I was going to ask you, especially with the you're the younger person you just hired is in his lower 30s. Were there any selling points to, were there selling points that you used to get him to come over to the hospital side? What attracted him? Do you know?
Well, he was looking for a more stable employment.
Yeah.
And we have a very lucrative benefit package, which has a really good GPT where paid time off, and that's really a big positive for him.
Yeah.
With a family. So I think that was one of the things that really attracted him. Of course, not the salary, because salary in healthcare is no way we can keep up with the industry that's around here. There's a lot of chemical plants and
Yeah.
the oil field, which pay really well. Of course, their requirements and what they ask of you probably goes a lot along with that salary as well. But
Sure.
that's one of the challenges here, because we can't afford to have put those big salaries out there, and we have to use other means, and that's pretty much what I guess attracts the people that are here. And once
Yep.
they hear, they realize that it is a good job, it is a stable job, and the environment's good place. You most of the time you're indoors, out of the elements. And that's a big plus in South Louisiana, because we've been having 100-degree temps with 90+% humidity, and out in those days it's not easy to work out there. So that's another big benefit for our environment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you hit on so many things there that are what needs to be done to, because you're right. I mean, healthcare, and I never thought about this before. In speaking with you, you must have some big competition to get some of those trades guys with just your location. You're close to the Gulf, and you can't. So it's good. The competition must be intense. But that gentleman, you're looking for somebody who maybe has a family. They want a little more stability, and they want to work with a roof over their head. And they're out there. They're hard to find, and a lot of time it just comes down to timing as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Healthcare Facilities Network. Please give this episode a like, as it really does make a difference in helping to promote the discipline of healthcare facilities management.